Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out the AirbladeUAV Eclair Plus frame. This is the 2.5 inch version. They also sell it in a 2-inch version if you're interested in that. Pretty, I guess, standard frame in the Eclair line. The side plates for all the Eclair frames are the same from the 2-inch, 2.5 inch Plus versions, and also the standard Quad X version, as well as the Eclair Lite. And so if you have any of the 3D printed parts, there's some out there that will fit the original Eclair that'll fit this frame as well. But as you can see here, we got a Plus style frame, so definitely some interesting flight characteristics. And I did have some, I guess, some issues tuning it. I was trying to tune it on 3S with these 1105. These are some 1105 5000 kV motors from RCX from my RC Mart. I actually would recommend going 4S. I have a 4S battery on here. 3S is a little bit not enough power, and 4S is actually where you want to be. So I wasn't really sure if these motors will work on 4S on a 2.5 inch prop, because I was running them on 3S on a 3-inch prop before, but they're totally fine on this Gemfan 2540. Yeah, so the other parts I got in here: Omnibus F3 flight controller, 20x20 board, and it's a 15 amp 4-in-1 ESC BLLAS. So I'm running D-Shot 600. FPV camera I'm using is the Cadex. It's the Turbo Micro F1. It's got a small FlySky receiver here, and the video transmitter I'm using in the back here is the Eachine VTX03, and that goes from 25 to 200 milliwatts. That's a pretty old video transmitter. It's been around for a long time. And you can see everything fits in very nice here. You got actually a lot of extra space here for other stuff if you want to use other things. Pretty basic setup here, nothing particularly special about the parts, but you know, obviously this frame will work with a wide variety of parts. The motors are the only size of the motors that this frame will take are the ones with a 9mm hole pattern. So you could use his Superman motors, the 1404s perhaps on this one, or the RotorX 1404s. Also the RCX 1304 motors will fit this whole pattern as well. So wide variety of motors you could use in this frame. I think will work fine in this. Now in terms of the tune, I am using Betaflight 331, and yeah, I kind of fiddled around with the PIDs quite a bit. I have pretty high P gains, maybe not enough D gains. You can see the PIDs at the beginning of the flight demo. I was trying to fiddle around with it, but yeah, it's it needs a little more work, but I just don't have the time to spend tuning this guy. I think it flies okay, but you guys could use my PIDs as a baseline and start from there. I think it definitely could use a little bit extra D gain perhaps, and maybe a little more P gain, but I thought it flew okay, and definitely I think with better motors I think it would fly even better. I think these RCX 1105 motors are a little bit on the older side, and definitely a lot of better motors out there, so keep that in mind. Now outside of the tuning, if you want to just talk about the flight characteristics of a Plus frame, pretty unique. I would characterize it as kind of similar to a stretched X frame, so I think it has to do with the way the motors are separated here. You got the two motors in the front and the back are much further apart than the motors on the sides, and where the center of gravity is, the 3 motors in the back are providing more power or lift to the rear side of the center of gravity. So the quad here has a tendency to pitch forward more. So you'll notice that in the flight demo it wants to constantly be looking at the ground because this rear motor is constantly lifting up, and with the help of the 2 side motors. The 2 side motors also being very close together, you get very quick rolls. In terms of flips, it doesn't really flip that great because the axis is so long. It's a little bit slow on the flips, but I think that's a characteristic of this frame. So I think if you're kind of looking for maybe like a really agile racer, this might not be a bad choice, because it's going to be, if you can pitch it over really, you know, hard and do a lot of quick rolls on the roll axis, it'll turn on a dime. And in that case, I would recommend not using the F1 camera. This one has a 16x9 and a narrow vertical field of view. You probably want to go with something like Micro Predator if you want to use this for racing. Okay, so just get a quick weight measurement here. Coming in at about 82.5 grams, so that's a pretty typical weight for around a 2.5 inch micro. Anyway, so yeah, it's a very unique flight characteristic for a Plus frame, and if you guys haven't tried a Plus frame, I would highly recommend giving it a shot. some of you guys really might like that if you especially are into the stretched X frames. If you aren't into the stretched X frames, you might not like the flight characteristics. So that's another thing you should probably keep in mind. But I'll put the link to the frame and all of the parts I used in the description below. If you guys are interested in checking it out. And I'll go ahead and I'll show you some flight demo footage.